Welcome, dear traveler in time. Tonight, you step into the heart of one of history's most haunting infernos, the Great Fire of London, 1666. What you are about to see is not just smoke, ash, and flame. It is the story of fear, loss, courage, and rebirth. Imagine the silence before the spark. A city asleep, unaware that in a baker's small shop, destiny was preparing its match. Within hours, the streets of London would glow red like a furnace. Houses would crack and collapse, and families would flee carrying only their prayers. The fire did not just devour wood and stone, it consumed hope, memories, and the very heart of a city. But from the ashes rose resilience, unity, and renewal. This is not only a story of destruction, it is a story of survival. I invite you to walk with me into the streets of old London, to smell the smoke, hear the cries, and feel the heat. Stand with those who lost everything, and those who dared to fight the impossible. This is not history on paper, this is life reborn in flame. London is burning. The year is 1666, and within 4 days, a city of 500,000 souls will be reduced to ash. You will hear the screams. You will feel the heat, and you will see how one spark changed the fate of an empire. Subscribe for more history, like and comment if you believe history should never be forgotten, and share to spark conversation about the lessons we must learn from the past. This is not myth, this is history, and it begins here. London, 1666. The city slumbers beneath a blanket of night. The air is thick with the smell of smoke from hearth fires, the distant toll of church bells fading into silence. Narrow streets, choked with timbered houses leaning close as if whispering secrets, breathe in stillness. By day, these crooked alleys echo with merchants shouting their wares, spices, cloth, fish, fresh from the Thames. But now, they are silent, save for the shuffle of a lone watchman with his lantern. The city is alive, yet unaware. Beneath its stillness lies danger. Houses built of oak and pitch, packed shoulder to shoulder, roofs of thatch, chimneys coughing, sparks into the night. A city like dry tinder, waiting for the match. But in this moment, London dreams. Inside the baker's shop on Pudding Lane, loaves lie cooling from the day's heat, and the apprentice sleeps by the embers. In mansions across the city, merchants rest easy after counting their day's gold, unaware how quickly wealth can turn to ash. Children dream of morning games in the alleyways, and priests kneel by candlelight, their prayers rising like smoke to the heavens. The city feels eternal, proud of its great cathedral, of its bustling markets, of its role as the beating heart of an empire stretching its sails across the seas. To the people of London, nothing seems more permanent than the walls around them, the homes they've built, the lives they've carved from stone and timber. Yet permanence is the cruelest illusion, for in only hours, this stillness will be shattered. The very streets where laughter now sleeps will echo with screams, doors will splinter under desperate hands, bells will toll not for worship but for warning, and the black sky will burn red with fire. But that moment has not yet come. The city sleeps, unaware of the storm crouched at its gates. In the shadows, history breathes in, ready to exhale in flame. The night of September 2nd, 1666. Pudding Lane lies hushed beneath the stars. The city still sleeps, unaware that history is about to turn with the strike of a spark. Inside Thomas Farriner's bakery, the air is heavy with the warmth of the oven. Bread baked hours before lies on wooden shelves, and the scent of yeast clings to the rafters. The baker himself sleeps upstairs, his family curled around him, wrapped in the comfort of routine. His apprentice, exhausted from the day's labors, has left the embers untended. A small flame flickers, almost invisible, dancing along the dry timber of the oven door. At first it is nothing, a glow in the darkness, the kind of thing one might dismiss with a careless breath. But in a city built of oak beams and thatch, nothing stays small for long. The flame licks upward, finding the pitch-sealed wood, feeding on centuries of dryness. Within minutes, the bakery breathes fire. The family awakes to smoke. The baker leaps from his bed, shouts and rushes his children to the stairwell. Panic thrashes the air. Doors slam, feet pound the floors. The apprentice coughs and stumbles through the haze, eyes wide with horror. Foreigner's shouts echo through the lane. Fire, fire. The night watchman hears the call but hesitates. Fires are common in London, often doused before they spread. He waves his lantern, calling to neighbors, but by the time water is fetched, the flames are leaping from window to window. A shower of sparks lands on the roof across the narrow lane. Timber crackles, ignites, and the fire begins its deadly march. Above, the moon watches silently as the flames climb higher. Neighbors pour into the streets, half-dressed, carrying what little they can, a chest of coins, a cradle, a prayer book. The shouts rise, children wail, and the orange glow stains the night sky. The fire has been born. No one yet realizes that this is not a common blaze, not a small misfortune. This is a beast that will not be tamed. What began as a spark in a baker's oven will soon consume the heart of London itself. And so, in this moment of panic and confusion, the great fire begins. Pudding Lane awakens in terror. The silence of the night has shattered, replaced by a chorus of cries, pounding feet, and the hungry roar of fire. What began as a spark in a baker's oven now leaps into the air, throwing sparks like stars into the darkness. The houses on Pudding Lane stand too close, their upper floors leaning together, as if whispering conspiracies. But now, their closeness becomes their doom. Flames leap from window to window, licking up beams dried by years of sun and smoke. The fire spreads with frightening speed, racing upward, outward, devouring everything in its path. Neighbors rush into the street, dragging what they can carry, chests, blankets, children, animals. The night fills with choking smoke. Sparks land on wool cloaks, on wooden carts, on rooftops, igniting one blaze after another. The fire is no longer a nuisance, it is alive, a predator unleashed. The watchman blows his horn, the sound echoing down crooked lanes, summoning others. Yet when they arrive, armed with leather buckets and weak water pumps, their efforts seem laughable. Buckets are passed from hand to hand, water tossed upon flames that only hiss, laugh, and rise higher. Inside the inferno, one house collapses, sending a shower of burning timbers into the lane. Screams erupt as the fire leaps forward, hungry for more. Men and women scramble to drag carts toward the Thames, hoping the river might save their belongings. A mother clutches her infant to her chest, eyes wide with terror, as her home behind her dissolves into flame. The wind begins to stir, fanning the flames into a monstrous frenzy. The narrow streets become chimneys, sucking smoke upward and drawing fire deeper into the heart of London. In the distance, the bells of churches begin to toll, not for worship but for warning. Above the blaze, the night sky glows orange. The fire throws shadows that dance like devils on walls, and the smell of burning wood and flesh drifts through the air. A city built over centuries now trembles on the edge of ruin, and yet its people cannot yet grasp the scale of what is coming. The fire, born in silence, now roars in triumph. London has awakened, and it is too late to stop what has begun. The fire has spread beyond Pudding Lane, and now the heart of London trembles. Panic explodes, like the flames themselves. Narrow streets, once filled with the clatter of merchants and children, now become rivers of desperate souls. Families rush from their homes with whatever they can carry. Some clutch chests of coins, others drag heavy wardrobes on carts, wheels screeching over cobblestones. Mothers press crying children to their chests, while fathers stagger under the weight of bundles wrapped in cloth. Dogs bark wildly, horses rear in terror, their shadows thrown against walls by the orange glow of fire. The air is thick with smoke, stinging eyes, choking lungs. Neighbors shout above the roar of flames. Save yourselves, head for the river. Bring water, but the river is far, and the fire spreads faster than feet can carry. Sparks rain down upon the fleeing crowd, landing on clothes and hair. People beat at themselves in panic, smothering tiny flames before they grow. Behind them, houses collapse, one after another, crashing in a storm of sparks that rain over the crowd. Children stumble, crying for parents. Parents scream for children lost in the chaos. A woman falls, clutching a crucifix, as others push past her in desperation. Fear devours all sense of order. Survival is the only law. Some carry cages of birds, cats pressed under arms, goats tugged along on ropes. One man drags a barrel of ale, refusing to leave his livelihood. Another clutches a Bible so tightly that the leather cracks under his grip. Each face is different, but all are twisted in the same grimace of terror. Above the city, the bells toll endlessly, warning the living and mourning the dead. The fire casts a glow so bright it turns night into false dawn. Through the smoke, the bucket brigades still fight, but few notice them now. The people no longer believe the flames can be contained. To them, the city itself is lost. They flee not to save London, but to save their lives. And yet, amid the chaos, courage flickers. Some men return into burning homes, desperate to save the trapped. A young boy drags his elderly grandmother through the street, coughing and stumbling, but refusing to let go. The fire rages, the crowd surges, and the city of London screams. This is no longer a fire, it is an exodus. By the fifth night, the fire has grown beyond a street, beyond a district. It has become a beast. The winds howl through London's alleys and lanes, fanning flames into towering infernos that leap from roof to roof. The city is no longer a collection of buildings. It is a single, burning entity, a living furnace. The air is heavy with smoke and ash, making the sky appear a molten red. Embers swirl like fireflies, landing on rooftops, haystacks, and timbered walls. Each spark carries the potential for disaster. Even the great St. Paul's Cathedral, its dome gleaming by day, now trembles in the glow, its wooden scaffolding catching the fire's hungry gaze. People are everywhere, fleeing in panic. Streets are choked with carts, children clinging to parents, animals shrieking. Some try to douse sparks with buckets of water, but the wind laughs at their efforts. Sheets of flame travel faster than anyone can run, and roofs explode in showers of burning beams. From the Thames, boats struggle to take on families escaping the inferno. Merchants shove crates aboard, farmers drag livestock, and children cling to parents, their faces streaked with soot. But even the river cannot contain the fire. Sparks float across its surface, igniting thatch along the banks. Amid the chaos, heroism shines. A young man dives into a burning house to save a trapped family, coughing and blackened by smoke. A woman cradles an infant in one arm while beating at her flaming cloak with the other. The city's heart is terror, yet it beats with courage. In the sky, the wind carries the fire further. The flames stretch across streets, jumping lanes and igniting entire neighborhoods. The bucket brigades fight bravely but are swallowed by exhaustion and hopelessness. Every drop of water seems to vanish against the inferno. London's proud skyline, once a symbol of strength and wealth, is now a blur of smoke, fire, and chaos. The city wails, and the citizens feel powerless against an enemy they cannot see, only sense in the roaring heat and the smell of burning timber. The fire does not rest, it grows hungrier, moving with the wind, unstoppable, a force of nature itself. London trembles beneath it. By nightfall, the city is a sea of flames. The great fire is no longer a spark in a baker's oven, it is a storm of destruction, unstoppable and merciless. By the fifth night, the fire has grown beyond a street, beyond a district. It has become a beast. The winds howl through London's alleys and lanes, fanning flames into towering infernos that leap from roof to roof. The city is no longer a collection of buildings. It is a single, burning entity, a living furnace. The air is heavy with smoke and ash, making the sky appear a molten red. Embers swirl like fireflies, landing on rooftops, haystacks, and timbered walls. Each spark carries the potential for disaster. Even the great St. Paul's Cathedral, its dome gleaming by day, now trembles in the glow, its wooden scaffolding catching the fire's hungry gaze. People are everywhere, fleeing in panic. Streets are choked with carts, children clinging to parents, animals shrieking. Some try to douse sparks with buckets of water, but the wind laughs at their efforts. Sheets of flame travel faster than anyone can run, and roofs explode in showers of burning beams. From the Thames, boats struggle to take on families escaping the inferno. Merchants shove crates aboard, farmers drag livestock, and children cling to parents, their faces streaked with soot. But even the river cannot contain the fire. Sparks float across its surface, igniting thatch along the banks. Amid the chaos, heroism shines. A young man dives into a burning house to save a trapped family, coughing and blackened by smoke. A woman cradles an infant in one arm while beating at her flaming cloak with the other. The city's heart is terror, yet it beats with courage. In the sky, the wind carries the fire further. The flames stretch across streets, jumping lanes and igniting entire neighborhoods. The bucket brigades fight bravely but are swallowed by exhaustion and hopelessness. Every drop of water seems to vanish against the inferno. London's proud skyline, once a symbol of strength and wealth, is now a blur of smoke, fire, and chaos. The city wails, and the citizens feel powerless against an enemy they cannot see, only sense in the roaring heat and the smell of burning timber. The fire does not rest, it grows hungrier, moving with the wind, unstoppable, a force of nature itself. London trembles beneath it. By nightfall, the city is a sea of flames. The great fire is no longer a spark in a baker's oven. It is a storm of destruction, unstoppable and merciless. The roar of the fire reaches the heart of the city. St. Paul's Cathedral, towering above the skyline, gleams like a beacon in the night. But tonight, that beacon is not one of hope. It is a target. The wind carries sparks and burning debris directly toward its wooden scaffolding, igniting small fires that spread with terrifying speed. Inside the cathedral, clergy and a handful of servants scramble. Candles topple as the heat presses closer, igniting tapestries and prayer books. The echo of crackling wood fills the hallowed halls. Choir stalls, carved from centuries-old oak, smolder and twist. Smoke rises in thick clouds, choking the light and turning the air bitter. Outside, Londoners pause in awe and horror. The cathedral, their symbol of faith and permanence, now trembles and groans under the fire's assault. Bells ring wildly, carried by the wind, sounding a final warning for the city. The great dome, visible for miles, glows red as flames lick its edges. Citizens flee past the cathedral, some stopping to pray, others frozen in disbelief. Children cling to their parents, eyes wide with fear. Merchants abandon carts filled with goods, focusing only on survival. Even the bravest bucket brigades hesitate, knowing that a single misstep could trap them under falling beams. Inside the chaos, a young clerk helps priests carry sacred objects to safety. Silver chalices, manuscripts, icons. Sparks ignite their robes, and smoke stings their eyes, but they push onward, determined to save what they can from the cathedral's burning heart. The fire leaps higher, the dome cracks, sending plumes of ash into the sky. Timbers snap, crashing onto the streets below, sending terrified citizens scattering. The smell of charred wood and melted lead fills the air. Londoners realize that no structure, no matter how mighty, can withstand this relentless inferno. The city cries out, not only for the lives it is losing, but for its history, its faith, its culture. The cathedral's walls, which have withstood storms, time, and human hands for centuries, are now at the mercy of a single unstoppable force. By the night's end, St. Paul's Cathedral is unrecognizable. Its spire collapsed, its wooden interior devoured, a skeleton of its former glory. The cries of Londoners mix with the crackling of wood and the roar of flames, leaving an unforgettable image burned into the minds of all who witness it. The great fire shows no mercy, claiming not only homes but the very symbols of the city's identity. The streets of London are a sea of smoke, firelight flickering across terrified faces. Small groups of men and women form bucket brigades, passing leather buckets filled with water from the Thames, hoping to halt the inferno. The effort is heroic but hopeless. Each drop of water sizzles against the blaze, evaporating instantly. The fire moves faster than any human hand can respond. Families flee past them, clutching children, animals, and bundles. Some pause to throw water desperately on the edges of their homes before abandoning them to the flames. Sparks rain down like deadly hail, setting thatch roofs alight with terrifying speed. The bucket brigade's shouts mix with screams of panic, creating a cacophony of fear and desperation. Men and women battle exhaustion, their arms trembling, their faces streaked with soot and sweat. Each sees the futility, but no one dares stop. They work not for victory, but for the hope of saving a single home, a single neighbor, a single life. Amid the chaos, heroism rises. A young woman leaps onto a roof to smother a burning thatch patch. A man carries a terrified child through smoke, slipping over wet cobblestones but never letting go. Courage flickers against the overwhelming darkness, brief and brilliant like sparks in the night. Even as buildings collapse in showers of fire, the brigades continue, a chain of humanity against the inferno. But the city is too dry, too crowded, too fuel-rich. The flames laugh at their efforts, consuming homes faster than water can reach them. By dawn, exhaustion overtakes many. Their bodies ache, lungs burn, eyes are raw from smoke. Still, they cannot stop. They are the heartbeat of London's survival, small shields against a force that will not relent. The great fire is no longer a spark, it is a devouring storm, and the bucket brigades are fighting a battle that cannot be won. By morning, London is unrecognizable. The fire, now a roaring inferno, has spread beyond Pudding Lane and the narrow streets into entire neighborhoods. Smoke rises like a dark cloud over the city, blurring the horizon and turning the sun into a dim blood-red disk. Ash falls from the sky, coating streets, faces, and fleeing crowds in gray. Flames leap from building to building, fueled by timber, pitch, and thatch. Roofs explode, sending sparks skyward like fireworks gone wrong. The heat is suffocating, thick with the scent of burning wood and melting metal. The city is alive in destruction, a breathing, roaring entity of fire. People flee in every direction, desperate to escape the consuming blaze. Some carry children, others drag carts and crates. Animals run wildly, adding to the chaos. The Thames is jammed with boats, overloaded with families, seeking refuge, while sparks drift across the river, igniting docks and warehouses. The bucket brigades continue, their efforts heroic but inadequate. Smoke blinds them, exhaustion cripples them, and the wind renders their water almost useless. Every moment, the fire leaps further, claiming streets and homes that only moments ago were safe. From the sky, embers float like snow, landing on rooftops far beyond the original fire. London is no longer just burning, it is suffocating beneath ash, as the city's heart becomes a furnace. Amid the devastation, small acts of courage continue. A man carries his elderly father through streets blazing on both sides. A woman throws a soaked blanket over a small fire threatening her neighbor's home. Children huddle together for warmth and protection as their families push them forward. The fire is not merely destroying houses, it is consuming memory, history, and the very soul of the city. Londoners realize that the Great Fire is not a misfortune to be fought, it is a force of nature, unstoppable and unrelenting. By the end of the day, the smoke has darkened the skies over the city. Ash falls like snow, and the horizon glows red. The people are battered, terrified, and exhausted, but they run on, driven by the primal instinct to survive. The fire has grown beyond comprehension. London itself is a city in flight. Amid the roaring inferno, King Charles II stands at the edge of the disaster, a city in flames reflected in his eyes. Smoke curls into the sky, embers drift like fireflies, and the cries of terrified citizens fill the streets. His advisors tremble beside him, unsure what action can halt the destruction. Charles surveys London with a mixture of disbelief and determination. The fire has spread beyond any hope of containment through ordinary means. Houses collapse into streets, Flames leap from roof to roof, and the city's proud buildings, the symbols of England's strength, burn before his eyes. The king issues orders: break houses to create fire breaks, call out the trained watchmen, and gather the city's strongest men to fight the flames. Yet every command seems swallowed by the roar of fire. The narrow streets choke with fleeing citizens, falling timbers, and smoke so thick it blinds. Despite the chaos, Charles moves among the people. He encourages, he shouts, he pushes men toward action. His presence is a small comfort amid terror. Couriers rush back and forth, spreading instructions, but the wind and fire do not obey any human order. Above, the sky glows red, the air thick with heat and ash. The city is in motion, burning, fleeing, screaming, but Charles refuses to leave. His gaze lingers on St. Paul's Pudding Lane, on the heart of London itself. Each collapse, each fiery eruption, marks the scale of the disaster. The king's bravery is a spark amid despair. Citizens look upon him with hope, if only for a moment, as he moves through the chaos, urging courage, calling for calm, and directing desperate measures. But even he knows that the great fire will not be tamed by authority alone. It is a force beyond men, beyond law, beyond expectation. Tonight, Charles witnesses a city transformed by flame, a people tested by fire, and a city's heart turned to ash. As the fire consumes streets and homes, the Thames becomes a corridor of salvation. Families, merchants, and animals flee toward its banks, desperate for the cool water and hope of safety. Boats line the river, packed beyond capacity, rocking under the weight of terror, precious goods, and frightened livestock. The river reflects the orange glow of the inferno, transforming into a river of fire itself. Sparks drift across its surface, threatening to ignite the very vessels meant to save lives. Shouts echo over the water, mingling with the roar of the flames and the cries of terrified children. On the riverbanks, men push boats into the water, urging families aboard. Mothers cradle infants, pulling blankets tightly around them. Merchants attempt to salvage crates of goods, some abandoning them mid-flight as flames consume their homes. Even the animals sense the danger. Horses rear, goats bleat, dogs bark frantically. Amid the chaos, small acts of courage stand out. A father steadies a boat, guiding frightened passengers past floating debris. A young boy jumps between boats, carrying a basket of provisions for families who cannot reach shore. A mother sacrifices her own comfort, holding her children close while offering space to others. The river is both lifeline and battlefield. Sparks ignite thatched roofs along the banks, threatening those closest to safety. Boats collide, passengers stumble, and animals panic, yet people persist, driven by survival instinct and the hope of life beyond the inferno. As the sun rises, the Thames glows with reflection from distant flames. Smoke rises into the morning sky, ash drifts down like snow, and the city behind them is a landscape of destruction. Londoners float away, exhausted, terrified, and thankful for this fragile corridor of escape. The river has become a lifeline, but it is only temporary. The great fire continues to consume all in its path. Those who survive the night are battered but alive, a testament to resilience amid catastrophe. Amid the roaring inferno, desperation takes drastic form. King Charles II's orders echo through the streets: create fire breaks. Entire blocks of homes are torn down or blown apart to stop the flames from spreading further. The city trembles with each explosion, the ground shaking under the collapse of centuries-old timbered houses. Men and soldiers use gunpowder to blast walls and roofs. The explosions send flames, smoke, and debris into the air, forcing fleeing citizens to dodge falling beams and sparks. The streets are a chaos of terrified people, collapsing buildings, and roaring fire. Sparks from the detonations land on nearby homes, threatening to ignite them as well. Some neighbors are forced to abandon homes they have lived in for generations. Families clutch children and valuables, watching their livelihoods vanish in moments. Smoke and ash fill the air, blinding even the most experienced firefighters. Courage and fear are intertwined. One misstep could mean death, but hesitation could let the flames consume the entire city. Amid the destruction, bravery emerges. A young soldier directs families to safety before detonating a building. A man carries a neighbor's elderly mother across the street, just as a wall collapses behind them. Each act of heroism is a small rebellion against the devouring inferno. The fire breaks work, but at a terrible cost. Entire streets are reduced to rubble. The smell of smoke, burning wood, and charred belongings fills the city. Londoners realize that survival demands sacrifice, and the price is devastatingly high. The city fights back with every tool at its disposal, but the flames do not relent. Fire consumes, smoke blinds, and the echoes of collapsing homes haunt the streets. Humanity struggles against nature's fury, learning that sometimes, to save the many, the few must be sacrificed. The Great Fire shows no mercy. Wealth, status, and social standing offer no shield against the consuming blaze. Timber-framed mansions and humble hovels alike fall into the inferno, reduced to ash in minutes. Merchants watch helplessly as gold-filled chests and precious goods vanish in the flames. A wealthy merchant clutches a silver cup, then abandons it as heat and smoke force him into the street. Meanwhile, a poor family, living in a small wooden house, huddles together, watching their home collapse in moments. Rich or poor, all are united by terror. The streets are chaotic. Children cry, mothers scream, men shout in desperation. Even the city's guards are powerless, unable to control the spread or save every home. The fire leaps from one neighborhood to another, ignoring property lines, social class, or wealth. London becomes a city of ashes, where survival is the only currency. Yet amid despair, acts of humanity shine. A wealthy family shares a small boat with fleeing neighbors. A poor man helps drag a neighbor's chest through the smoke, ignoring his own safety. Courage does not belong to the rich or poor. It belongs to anyone willing to act. By nightfall, the city is a patchwork of charred ruins and burning streets. Fires leap into the sky, smoke thickens, and ash falls on every face. Regardless of social standing, Londoners begin to realize the stark truth: fire does not discriminate. In this catastrophe, survival, courage, and quick thinking are the only factors that determine life or death. As the flames rage, rich and poor alike flee toward the river, toward the open streets, toward anything that offers hope. The Great Fire does not care who built the city. It will consume all, leaving only ash and memory. London's heart burns, but its people persist, fleeing, surviving, and witnessing a disaster that unites them in terror and humanity. Throughout the night, the city's watchmen struggle to keep order, their faces streaked with soot and eyes wide with exhaustion. They run through streets, choking with smoke, warning citizens, beating drums and ringing bells. But the roar of the fire drowns their voices. Every corner they turn brings new horror. Homes collapse into flames, carts explode, animals panic, and people flee in every direction. The watchmen try to guide families to safety, but their efforts are often in vain. Each failure weighs heavily on them, guilt gnawing as they witness lives and livelihoods vanish in the inferno. Some watchmen fight small fires with buckets, sweating and trembling, yet the flames leap too quickly. Others drag children and the elderly from collapsing homes, soot and embers coating their uniforms. Exhaustion sets in, but the city demands constant vigilance. Amid despair, acts of courage emerge. A watchman lifts a fallen woman to safety, ignoring sparks falling around them. Another carries a baby across a burning street, while debris crashes nearby. Their bravery is silent yet vital, the difference between life and death for those they save. But as dawn approaches, the weight of the disaster becomes unbearable. The Great Fire shows no mercy. The watchmen, once guardians of the city, feel powerless against an elemental force that consumes indiscriminately. London is alive with chaos, and the watchmen are forced to witness its fury, helpless against the destruction unfolding around them. The city's cries echo through the streets, mixing with the roar of fire and the crackle of collapsing timber. Every street, Every alley, every corner becomes a battlefield of survival. The watchmen's despair is profound, yet they endure, continuing to guide, to rescue, and to protect wherever they can. Amid chaos, women emerge as quiet pillars of courage. Mothers clutch infants and toddlers, shielding them from flying embers and collapsing debris. Their faces streaked with soot and sweat, they guide children through streets that are rivers of fire and smoke. Some women form impromptu chains, holding children's hands and directing them toward the river. Others drape wet blankets over infants to protect them from sparks. Their courage is not loud, it is relentless, selfless, and fierce. A young mother, hair singed and dress smoldering, carries 2 children on her hip, pausing to pull a neighbor's child from a burning doorway. Another woman steadies a frightened toddler, keeping him calm as the inferno rages around them. Each action is a battle against panic and despair. Even in the face of collapsing homes and falling timbers, women remain focused on protecting the next generation. They offer water to the exhausted, comfort to the crying, and guidance to the lost. Their bravery ensures that some lives survive the flames that have consumed so much. Amid fear, laughter, and tears, moments of humanity shine. Women share blankets, food, and encouragement. They lift children from danger, whisper prayers, and form lines to carry the smallest ones through smoke-choked streets. The city's chaos cannot break their resolve. As flames leap skyward and ash rains down, these women carry on. Their courage is a lifeline, the difference between life and death for the children in their care. The great fire tests them to the limits of human endurance, yet they persevere, their hearts as fierce as the flames surrounding them. London may burn, but the courage of its women ensures that hope, life, and humanity survive amid the ashes. As the inferno devours London, ordinary citizens transform into heroes. Courage bursts from unexpected places, illuminating the dark chaos of fire and smoke. Men and women alike act without hesitation, risking their lives to save neighbors, pets, and strangers. In narrow streets, a young apprentice drags an elderly neighbor from a burning home, coughing as embers fall around them. Across the street, a merchant abandons gold and silver, instead helping a family escape through collapsing timber. A group of women forms a human chain to carry children across debris-laden alleys. Even animals become part of the heroism. Horses are guided gently past flames, dogs pulled to safety, and cats tucked into coats. Every act of bravery contrasts sharply with the surrounding devastation, a testament to human resilience. The bucket brigades continue their relentless fight, tired and blackened by smoke, yet still forming lines to pass water. Some create small fire breaks by demolishing walls, risking their lives to protect the next block. The fire shows no mercy, yet humanity persists. The heroic efforts do not stop the flames, but they save countless lives. London's citizens, ordinary in every way, shine as extraordinary in this dark hour. By dawn, smoke hangs heavy, ash covers the streets, but the city's courage leaves a mark stronger than fire itself. The great fire tests every soul, yet the bravery witnessed in every corner ensures that London will endure, even amid destruction. By midday, the streets of London are unrecognizable. Once bustling markets and homes are reduced to smoldering ruins. Timber frames collapse, leaving blackened skeletons. Ash drifts through the air, coating faces and clothing. The heat is oppressive, smoke burns lungs, and the roar of fire is unrelenting. People wander the streets, stunned, carrying whatever survived: children, blankets, or a single cherished possession. The smell of smoke, charred wood, and melted metal hangs thick. The city's roads are strewn with debris, overturned carts, and burned-out furniture. Every corner bears the mark of devastation. Amid the ruins, citizens try to help one another. Women distribute water and comfort to those in shock. Men carry children and the elderly across streets choked with ash. Even in despair, acts of humanity continue. Small islands of hope amid overwhelming destruction. The fire spares nothing, rich or poor, old or young. Streets that were once filled with life are now blackened, silent, and scarred. Roofs have collapsed, shops destroyed, and churches reduced to smoldering ruins. The horizon glows orange as distant fires continue to burn, and smoke clouds hang heavy, casting a permanent twilight over the city. Despite exhaustion, fear, and grief, the citizens persist. They salvage what they can, rescue the few survivors trapped under rubble, and form lines to carry water to dying fires. Each act is a small defiance against the consuming inferno. The blackened streets are testimony to the fire's destructive power, but also to the resilience of Londoners. Even amid ruin, hope glimmers, and humanity persists. London is no longer a city of streets and houses. It is a landscape of ash, embers, and heroism. As the fire begins to burn lower, leaving smoldering ruins in its wake, the air fills with a new sound, the mournful tolling of church bells. From the skeletal remains of partially standing steeples, the bells ring over blackened streets, calling the living to bear witness to the devastation. Citizens stop amidst the ash-choked streets, pausing to hear the somber chimes. Faces streaked with soot and tears, eyes hollow with exhaustion and grief. They realize the full cost of the great fire. Homes are gone, families scattered, friends lost. Each bell tolls like a heartbeat for those who perished. Clergy emerge from burned churches, robes tattered, soot-covered, lifting hands in prayer. Women clutch children closer, whispering silent prayers for those lost. Fathers kneel in the streets, shaking with grief, holding on to the remnants of what they once called home. Amid the despair, small acts of human connection emerge. Neighbors embrace, sharing water and blankets. Survivors search for missing loved ones amid the ruins, calling names into the heavy silence. The sound of bells amplifies the sorrow, yet unites the living in shared mourning. Even animals pause, sensing the grief. Dogs huddle by the feet of their owners. Cats seek warmth in charred remains. Horses whinny softly, as if joining the human lament. The city mourns, but it also remembers. The bells are both a warning and a memorial, echoing over streets of ash, reminding everyone that life continues, even amid loss. The Great Fire has destroyed much, but the heart of London beats on, quietly, in sorrow and remembrance. With the fire largely spent, Londoners emerge from hiding, eyes wide with disbelief and sorrow. Streets are blackened, homes reduced to ashes, yet life persists. Survivors gather, forming impromptu communities amidst the ruins, supporting one another in the aftermath of disaster. Men and women share water, blankets, and food, salvaged from burned homes or carried from the river. Children cling to parents, exhausted but alive. Friends and neighbors search for missing loved ones, lending hands and comfort where grief threatens to overwhelm. Amid the ruins, acts of kindness are profound. A merchant shares a small loaf of bread with a family who lost everything. Women organize groups to tend the wounded and the hungry. Young boys and girls help carry water, sweep debris, and guide the elderly through the streets. The Great Fire may have reduced buildings and possessions to ash, but it cannot destroy the resilience and compassion of humanity. Survivors lean on one another, their courage renewed, not through heroics, but through the simple acts of shared survival. Smoke still lingers, and embers smolder in corners, yet London begins the slow work of rebuilding. Communities gather around rivers, in open squares and under remaining walls, finding shelter and hope in the presence of others. Even in the aftermath of devastation, unity becomes the city's strongest force. By nightfall, the surviving population is scattered but together in spirit. Families huddle, neighbors embrace, and Londoners, though blackened and exhausted, display a quiet determination. Humanity endures, even amid ash and ruin. The Great Fire has claimed much, but it has also revealed the courage, compassion, and resilience of the human spirit. London will rise again, and its people, united by shared suffering, will rebuild stronger than before. Amid the ruins, the remnants of London's wealth lie scattered in ash and rubble. Treasured possessions, carefully accumulated over lifetimes, are gone, burned, melted, or buried under fallen beams. Gold and silver, fine silks, books and artworks have vanished into the inferno. Merchants wander among the ruins, eyes wide in disbelief, hands trembling as they sift through smoldering remains. A gold-laden chest that survived one blaze collapses under its own weight, consumed by flames a moment later. Priceless manuscripts curl and blacken, ink running into illegible streaks, history erased in minutes. Yet not all loss is material. Families mourn heirlooms, tokens of memory, and items that carried stories across generations. A mother clutches a scorched locket, the miniature portrait inside faded and blackened. A merchant kneels beside a burned ledger, ink-streaked and unreadable, mourning years of business and livelihood. Even amid despair, humanity endures. Citizens salvage what they can: pots, pans, small silver coins, or fragments of books. Each tiny recovery becomes a victory, a connection to a life interrupted, a memory preserved. Children find comfort in small, undamaged toys, and neighbors share these tiny treasures, building a fragile sense of normalcy amid devastation. The city mourns not only lives lost but the wealth and history destroyed. Every street tells a story of human ambition, now reduced to ash. Yet the fire cannot consume the memory of what London once was. Survivors carry it within them, in grief, in stories, and in small salvaged fragments. Treasure may be gone, but resilience remains. Londoners begin to understand that survival, compassion, and courage are the greatest treasures of all. The city smells of smoke, charred wood, and melted metal. Ash floats in the air, coating faces, hair, and clothing. Streets once bustling with life are now silent and blackened, littered with debris. The acrid scent of destruction permeates every corner, a constant reminder of the Great Fire's wrath. Survivors stumble through streets, coughing and choking as ash infiltrates lungs. Some pause to wipe soot from eyes, others cover their mouths with scorched cloths. Even the river carries the odor, smoke curling over its surface as if marking every escape route with evidence of destruction. The smell is overpowering, filling homes, churches, and marketplaces alike. Inside collapsed buildings, the heat lingers, making the air thick and heavy. Food, furniture, and clothing are destroyed, leaving only smoldering remnants. Every breath reminds Londoners of what has been lost: life, wealth, comfort, and security. Yet even amidst the overwhelming odor of ruin, people press forward. Women comfort children, men carry the wounded, and neighbors form chains to clear debris or move essentials. The fire's destruction is all-encompassing, but the human spirit adapts, finding resilience amid the ashes. Children cough and sneeze, eyes red from smoke, yet cling to parents. Animals wander through the streets, noses twitching at the acrid scent. The city is alive with the smell of its own devastation, a pungent reminder of how quickly life can change. Survivors learn to navigate by smell, smoke, and sight. Every turn reveals another layer of destruction, another building reduced to blackened rubble. The ash becomes part of daily life, carpeting streets, cloaking people and possessions alike, a constant companion in the aftermath. Though the smell is unbearable, it also serves as a marker of resilience. Each breath of ash-laden air reminds Londoners that they survived, that they are alive, and that amidst destruction, humanity endures. The city is scarred, blackened, and haunted by the fire, yet London persists. The smell of ashes may linger for weeks, but so too does the memory of courage, survival, and compassion. As the smoke begins to thin, survivors emerge, dazed but determined. The streets, though blackened and scarred, become places of rescue and recovery. Londoners work together to pull trapped neighbors from collapsed buildings, to carry the injured to safety, and to salvage what they can from the ruins. Every act of recovery is a testament to human resilience. Men and women lift fallen beams, clearing paths for the wounded. Children, frightened but resilient, help carry small belongings or water. Families unite to rebuild connections, sharing food, blankets, and encouragement. Amid the rubble, communities form spontaneously. Groups gather to remove debris, tend to the sick, and locate missing loved ones. Every corner of the city becomes a site of collaboration, a small triumph of order over chaos. Smoke still lingers, embers smolder, and ash falls like snow, but the human spirit persists. The work is exhausting, dangerous, and emotionally taxing. Citizens stumble over blackened streets, coughing from lingering smoke, yet they persevere, driven by the shared goal of survival and the determination to protect one another. Acts of heroism, quiet and unassuming, emerge everywhere. A father lifts a neighbor's child from under a collapsed wall. A young woman carries water to exhausted volunteers. Elderly citizens offer guidance and encouragement, showing that even in weakness, strength can be found. London is being rebuilt not just from bricks and timber, but from compassion, courage, and solidarity. By the end of the day, small clusters of survivors have restored order to portions of the city. Though the Great Fire has claimed much, the spirit of its people remains unbroken, a beacon of hope amid ash and ruin. Amid the chaos and destruction, animals also survive and bear witness to the Great Fire. Horses, dogs, cats, and birds become silent heroes, their instincts guiding them, and often their human caretakers to safety. Many were rescued by attentive citizens, their survival a testament to compassion amid disaster. People carry frightened animals through smoke-filled streets, shielding them from sparks and falling debris. Horses are led from burning stables, dogs cling to their owners, and cats are tucked into coats or baskets. Even pigeons, startled by the flames, find refuge in trees or lofts that remain standing. In some cases, animals act as guides or helpers. Horses carry supplies or pull carts of rescued families. Dogs alert humans to trapped neighbors or fallen debris. Their loyalty and instinctive courage become intertwined with human resilience, reinforcing the bond between species in the face of disaster. Amid devastation, acts of kindness toward animals are profound. Children cradle cats, adults carry dogs across streets, and groups guide herds of animals away from danger. These acts of rescue, though quiet, demonstrate empathy and heroism in their purest form. The streets, once filled with terrified cries of humans, now resonate with the sounds of animals freed from peril. Whinnies of horses, barks of dogs, and the cautious mew of cats. Even as the city burns or smolders, the survival of these creatures provides hope and continuity. By nightfall, London's human and animal survivors gather in open areas. Both are exhausted but alive, a reminder that life persists in all forms. The Great Fire has destroyed structures, wealth, and memories, but it cannot extinguish compassion, courage, or the bond between humans and animals. In the days following the Great Fire, Londoners emerge from the ruins with determination in their eyes. The city may be blackened, ash-strewn, and filled with debris, but human resilience shines through. Survivors begin the painstaking process of rebuilding, salvaging timber, bricks, and stone from the ruins of their homes and businesses. Families work together to erect temporary shelters. Markets slowly return, small stalls made of salvaged wood selling bread, water, and essentials. Children help by carrying small bundles or fetching water, eager to contribute to the effort. Neighbors support one another, sharing resources and labor to reconstruct what was lost. Skilled craftsmen and laborers examine charred buildings, salvaging beams that can still bear weight, melting down metals from ruined homes, and repurposing bricks for new structures. Every act is deliberate, careful, and infused with hope. London's streets, though scarred, begin to see the first signs of life once again. Even amid exhaustion, humor and small joys return. Children play in cleared courtyards, neighbors exchange news, and survivors begin to plan for permanent reconstruction. The city may have been reduced to ash, but the spirit of its people fuels a slow, determined revival. The Great Fire has destroyed much, yet the process of rebuilding reminds Londoners that destruction is never the end. From the blackened streets and ruined homes, life, community, and hope rise anew. Every beam set in place, every stone laid, is a declaration: London will survive. While many flee or rescue, firefighters face the inferno head-on. These unsung heroes, known as the Firemen of London, work tirelessly amid smoke, heat, and falling debris. Their hands blistered, faces streaked with soot, they pass water through bucket brigades, dismantle homes to create fire breaks, and risk life after life to save citizens. In narrow streets, men haul buckets of water from the Thames, forming lines stretching hundreds of yards. Others wield axes to tear down walls, creating fire breaks that halt the advance of the flames. Every act is dangerous, requiring both skill and courage, yet they persist, often without recognition. The firefighters' bravery is not limited to fighting fire. They rescue trapped citizens, carry children to safety, and provide guidance to terrified families. Many are burned or injured in the process, yet they continue, driven by duty and compassion. Amid the chaos, their actions inspire others. Survivors witness courage firsthand, spurring additional volunteers to help with water lines, debris removal, and first aid. The city relies on these quiet heroes to preserve life and maintain order. By dawn, the tireless efforts of the firefighters save countless homes and lives. While the great fire rages on in some corners, their bravery prevents even greater destruction. London owes its survival, in large part, to these unsung figures, whose dedication exemplifies humanity at its finest. Though smoke still hangs heavy, the streets scarred and blackened, the courage of the firefighters lights a beacon of hope. Their actions remind the city that even in the darkest hours, bravery, sacrifice, and determination can save lives and preserve the spirit of a community. As fire consumes the streets of London, the River Thames becomes a sanctuary and lifeline. Citizens flee the inferno, carrying children, small belongings, and even frightened animals toward the riverbanks. The water offers a safe path, a chance to escape the relentless flames and suffocating smoke. Boats are quickly pressed into service. Merchants, fishermen, and volunteers row tirelessly, ferrying survivors across the river to safer districts. Families cling to one another in the boats, faces streaked with soot, clothes dampened by river water and sweat. The river becomes a corridor of life amid devastation. Some boats are overloaded, rocking perilously in the darkened waters. Yet the rowers persist, skillfully navigating through smoke-filled streets and ash-laden waters. Children hold tightly to parents, while pets are secured in baskets or wrapped in blankets. The Thames also provides relief. Survivors splash water on singed faces, dampen clothing to stave off flames, and wash ash and soot from hair and skin. The river is a source of both safety and restoration, offering a moment of respite amid chaos. Acts of heroism emerge here as well. A fisherman dives into the river to rescue a struggling child, while a merchant steadies an overloaded boat filled with women and children. Volunteers risk their own lives to ensure that as many survivors as possible reach the opposite bank. By nightfall, the riverbanks are crowded with exhausted but grateful citizens. The River Thames has served not just as water and transportation, but as a symbol of hope, connecting survivors and saving countless lives from the devastation that ravaged London. Amid the destruction, children emerge as both vulnerable and resilient. Many are carried in their parents' arms, while others run alongside adults through smoke-filled streets. Their wide eyes, soot-covered faces, and trembling hands tell stories of fear, courage, and survival. Some children display remarkable bravery. A young girl leads her siblings through a maze of collapsed buildings, stopping to lift a fallen kitten along the way. A boy guides his mother and neighbors across a bridge, holding a small bag of salvaged belongings. Despite exhaustion and fear, they act with instinctive courage, preserving life and hope. Trauma is evident. Children cry from heat, hunger, and loss, but they also comfort one another. Older children assist younger ones, sharing water, blankets, and words of encouragement. Even amid devastation, moments of innocence persist, laughter bubbling briefly as a child finds a small toy among the ashes, or curiosity sparking as they peer into ruined streets. Families cling tightly to their children, realizing the future depends on their survival. Mothers whisper prayers, fathers shield with arms and bodies, and neighbors collectively protect the youngest amid falling debris and embers. The stories of these children become the legacy of the fire. Some lost parents or homes, yet survived thanks to the courage of strangers, friends, or siblings. Others heroically help others despite their youth. Their survival becomes a symbol of hope, resilience, and the continuity of life, even amid overwhelming destruction. By the time the fire dies down, the children who survived carry memories of horror, bravery, and human kindness. Their innocence is tested, but their spirit remains unbroken, offering Londoners a glimpse of hope and the promise of a rebuilt city. As the smoke clears and ash settles, the people of London turn their thoughts from survival to renewal. Architects, builders, and civic leaders emerge from the ruins, examining the blackened streets and charred foundations with solemn determination. The city must rise again, not just as it was, but stronger, safer, and more beautiful. Plans are drawn on soot-streaked tables, sketches of streets, bridges, and buildings outlining the vision of a rebuilt London. Builders debate materials, fireproof techniques, and wider streets to prevent future catastrophes. Brick replaces timber, stone fortifies churches, and public squares are redesigned to accommodate both commerce and safety. Citizens watch, eager to contribute. Families salvage materials, deliver water to workers, and assist in clearing rubble. Children, curious and inspired, carry small tools or fetch provisions, witnessing the birth of a city rising from ashes. Despite exhaustion and grief, hope permeates every action. Each beam replaced, each brick laid, represents resilience. Architects and builders work tirelessly, often side by side with ordinary citizens, their hands blackened with soot, their faces streaked with determination. The rebuilding is more than physical, it is symbolic. London will not be defined by destruction but by the courage, vision, and collaboration of its people. The Great Fire, while devastating, ignites a collective determination to forge a stronger, safer city. Every street corner cleared, every foundation laid, marks the birth of a new London. The city's story continues, written by architects, laborers, and citizens united in purpose. Amid ruins, life and vision flourish, ensuring that the memory of the fire is preserved not just in sorrow but in triumph. Amid the ruins, faith becomes a source of strength. Clergy, citizens, and children gather in partially standing churches, open squares, and temporary shelters to offer prayers for those lost and hope for the future. The sound of hymns, whispered prayers, and solemn chants rises above the blackened streets. Families kneel together, hands clasped tightly, faces streaked with soot and tears. Children mimic prayers learned from parents, their voices small but filled with sincerity. Clergy guide the community, blessing survivors and invoking protection for the rebuilding city. Even those who had not prayed before the fire feel compelled to join, recognizing the importance of hope and community in the wake of devastation. Candles flicker in the shadows of partially collapsed churches, casting a warm glow against walls blackened by smoke. Acts of faith are mirrored in compassion. Citizens care for the sick, comfort the grieving, and share resources, guided by a sense of moral duty and spiritual resilience. The prayers offered are not only for survival but for courage, unity, and the renewal of life. Amid ash and ruins, Londoners discover that hope and faith are unburnable. They provide solace in sleepless nights, courage in rebuilding, and strength in moments of despair. Even as the city heals physically, the spirit nurtured by prayer and shared faith ensures the emotional and moral reconstruction of London. By candlelight and whispered prayer, survivors reconnect with one another. Communities solidify, shared experiences strengthen bonds, and the act of praying together becomes a symbol of collective resilience. Through faith, Londoners find the strength to face the future, rebuild their homes, and honor those lost to the flames. As London begins to recover, survivors gather to share their stories. Each account is a testament to courage, luck, and resilience amid the Great Fire. Street corners, open squares, and makeshift shelters become spaces where experiences are recounted, and memories of tragedy and heroism are preserved. An elderly merchant recounts how a neighbor saved his family by guiding them through smoke-filled alleys. A young girl tells of rescuing her younger brother from beneath fallen beams, her voice trembling but proud. Children share small tales of bravery, helping pets, comforting siblings, or navigating streets on their own. Each story is unique, yet a common thread binds them: the power of human courage and solidarity. Some stories are heartbreaking: families lost, homes destroyed, pets perished. But even in sorrow, hope persists. Survivors recognize that sharing their experiences honors those who perished and reinforces the community's strength. Volunteers record the accounts, writing them down or dictating to scribes, ensuring the memory of the Great Fire will endure. These stories inspire others, reminding citizens that despite devastation, life continues, courage survives, and Londoners can overcome even the darkest hours. Through witness accounts, the city begins to reconstruct not only its streets but also its shared narrative. These stories become the foundation of remembrance, survival, and the enduring human spirit. They serve as a moral compass, showing future generations the cost of disaster and the value of resilience, compassion, and unity. In the aftermath of destruction, one of the most moving sights is the reunion of families. Parents find children who were separated during the chaos, siblings discover one another amid the ruins, and neighbors embrace after fear-filled hours apart. Tears of relief and joy flow freely, mingling with soot and ash. Streets become scenes of emotional reconnections. Mothers search desperately through cleared areas, calling names. Fathers lift fallen beams and move debris in the hope of finding loved ones. Children run to embrace parents or siblings, faces streaked with soot but glowing with relief. Pets are reunited with owners. Dogs bark happily, cats nuzzle against hands, and birds flutter back to familiar cages or hands. These reunions, small but profound, restore a sense of normalcy amid devastation. The reunions are often quiet but deeply emotional. Families cling to one another, whispering reassurances, checking for injuries, and sharing the small salvaged belongings that survived. Tears and laughter coexist, reflecting the complexity of emotions after surviving catastrophe. Even strangers contribute. Neighbors help locate missing family members, offering water, comfort, and guidance. Volunteers create lists of missing persons, helping facilitate reunions, ensuring no one is overlooked. The sense of community grows stronger through shared hardship, reinforcing bonds that will endure long after the fire is gone. By nightfall, London is filled with these reunions, families, friends, and neighbors reconnecting amid ruins. While the city is scarred and blackened, the human spirit shines brighter than ever. These reunions are not just emotional moments. They are a symbol of survival, love, and the unbreakable bonds that make a city resilient. After weeks of survival and initial rebuilding, the heartbeat of London returns to its streets, the marketplace. Merchants set up temporary stalls made of salvaged wood, offering bread, fruit, vegetables, and small trinkets. The aroma of fresh baked goods, mingling with lingering smoke, fills the air. Citizens flock to the market, eager for food, news, and social connection. Survivors greet one another, exchanging stories of courage, survival, and small victories. The market becomes a symbol that life persists, that the city's spirit is unbroken despite destruction. Children run among the stalls, curiosity replacing fear, pointing at fruits and toys, occasionally helping parents carry goods. Merchants, faces blackened with soot, but hopeful, offer their wares generously, often sharing with neighbors who lost everything. The sound of barter, laughter, and conversation replaces the eerie silence that dominated the streets during the fire. Small animals scurry among the stalls, dogs wag tails, cats explore cautiously, birds perch on beams, adding vitality to the scene. Markets also become centers for rebuilding. Materials, tools, and supplies for homes and shelters are traded alongside food and clothing. Citizens exchange knowledge, guidance, and support, creating a sense of community stronger than before the fire. By opening the markets, Londoners assert that daily life cannot be destroyed. They reclaim streets, rebuild commerce, and nurture hope. The market is more than a place to buy and sell. It is the city's pulse returning, an affirmation that life, culture, and humanity endure. With rebuilding underway and survivors reunited, faith once again becomes a source of solace and unity. The first church service is held in a partially standing cathedral, its charred walls a stark reminder of recent tragedy. Candles flicker on soot-stained altars, casting warm light over faces worn by grief but brightened by hope. Clergy lead prayers, voices resonating through the damaged structure. Families kneel, hands clasped, eyes closed, offering thanks for survival and praying for the future. Children, soot-streaked but attentive, mimic gestures of devotion, finding comfort in the rhythm of familiar hymns. The congregation is a mix of survivors, parents, children, the elderly, and neighbors who pulled together during the fire. Each person brings their own story of loss, courage, and survival, and together they create a tapestry of resilience and hope. Even amidst ruins, acts of compassion are evident. Volunteers distribute water, blankets, and small candles to worshippers. Citizens assist those with injuries, ensuring everyone can participate in the service. The atmosphere is solemn yet filled with quiet joy, as faith reawakens a sense of purpose and community. As the service continues, prayers shift from mourning to rebuilding. The congregation asks for wisdom, strength, and unity as London rises from ashes. Hymns echo through the damaged nave, creating a bridge between past sorrow and future hope. By the end of the service, a sense of renewal pervades the city. Faith is not just religious practice, it is a testament to resilience, courage, and the unwavering human spirit. Londoners leave with renewed determination, ready to face the challenges of rebuilding, together and with hope. Even amid rebuilding, London pauses to honor those who perished in the Great Fire. Families, friends, and neighbors gather to erect memorials, simple markers of wood or stone, plaques on walls, or engraved inscriptions in surviving churches. Each memorial tells a story of lives lost, of courage, and of community that suffered together. Candles are placed at memorials, flickering in the dusk as smoke still drifts faintly from ruined streets. Citizens kneel, bow heads, and whisper names, tears streaking soot-covered faces. Children are taught to remember, carrying flowers or small tokens to honor neighbors, pets, and family members lost to the flames. Stories of heroism are commemorated alongside lives lost. Firefighters who risked everything are remembered for bravery, neighbors honored for acts of courage, and pets who protected children are memorialized with small carved figures or markers. Each act of remembrance strengthens the bonds between citizens and their shared history. Even as new buildings rise, these memorials serve as reminders that London's past is not forgotten. The fallen inspire resilience, humility, and community spirit. Citizens gather for moments of silence, prayer, and reflection, acknowledging that while the city rebuilds physically, honoring human life preserves its soul. In time, the memorials become focal points for remembrance ceremonies, annual gatherings, quiet reflections, and stories passed down through generations ensure that those lost are never forgotten. The Great Fire, while devastating, leaves behind a legacy of courage, compassion, and enduring memory. The Great Fire leaves London scarred, but it also teaches vital lessons. Citizens, architects, leaders, and firefighters convene to evaluate the causes, consequences, and methods to prevent future disasters. Discussions focus on fireproof building materials, wider streets, organized brigades, and community preparedness. Citizens actively participate, sharing first-hand experiences and suggestions. Families recount how narrow streets and flammable materials worsened destruction. Merchants and builders provide insight into structures that survived versus those that didn't. Every observation contributes to a plan for a safer, more resilient city. New regulations are proposed. Brick and stone buildings replace timber. Fire breaks are incorporated into street designs, and communal water sources are strategically placed. Firefighting brigades are formalized and trained for rapid response. Lessons from survival stories influence planning, ensuring that London becomes stronger than before. Education also becomes a priority. Children learn about fire safety, families understand evacuation procedures, and communities practice drills. The shared trauma transforms into knowledge, ensuring that future generations are prepared. Beyond practical measures, the fire teaches emotional and social lessons. Acts of bravery, compassion, and solidarity are celebrated and recorded. Citizens recognize that human resilience and cooperation are as essential as physical structures in protecting the city. By documenting these lessons, London ensures that the tragedy will not be repeated in vain. The ashes of destruction serve as a foundation for wisdom, foresight, and preparedness. Citizens rebuild not just homes and streets, but a culture of vigilance, courage, and shared responsibility. The Great Fire becomes a turning point, a story of loss transformed into opportunity, of destruction converted into enduring knowledge, and of a community that refuses to be defeated. London's future is safeguarded, stronger and wiser thanks to the lessons learned amid its silent ashes. Years after the Great Fire, London rises once more, not as the city that was lost, but as a city renewed. Streets are wider, buildings sturdier, and the lessons of the past etched into every brick and stone. The scars of fire remain as reminders, yet the spirit of the city burns brighter than ever. Families walk through bustling streets once again. Children play in squares where ashes once fell. Markets thrive with merchants selling goods, artisans display their craft, and neighbors gather, laughter and conversation filling the air. Life pulses through London's veins, vibrant and unstoppable. Monuments and memorials honor those who perished. Candles still flicker at night, and the stories of heroism, courage, and survival are shared among generations. These remembrances do not dwell in sorrow. They inspire resilience, compassion, and unity. The River Thames gleams under the sun, a symbol of continuity and sustenance. Ferries, once lifelines during the fire, now carry goods, families, and visitors. Londoners look to the river with gratitude, remembering how it carried them through peril, and now supports the city's rebirth. Church bells ring once again, signaling faith, hope, and renewal. Communities gather in services, celebrating survival and unity. Children, now grown, teach the next generation the lessons learned: courage, cooperation, and vigilance. London is no longer defined by the ashes of destruction, but by the collective strength, resilience, and heart of its people. The Great Fire left a mark on the city, but it also ignited the will to rebuild stronger, safer, and united. London's story is one of triumph over adversity, a testament that even the darkest nights can give way to dawn. As sun sets over a rebuilt skyline, Londoners pause, reflecting on the journey from smoke and ruins to life, hope, and renewal. The city is alive, vibrant, and ready for the future, forever carrying the silent ashes as a reminder of courage, unity, and humanity. As we close this journey through the Great Fire of London, remember that the ashes you've witnessed are not only the remnants of destruction, they are the silent witnesses to courage, hope, and resilience. Every street, every stone, every life rebuilt carries a story of human determination and the unbreakable spirit of community. You have seen families reunited, children surviving against impossible odds, firefighters risking everything, and citizens rising to rebuild a city stronger than before. These stories are timeless reminders that even in our darkest hours, humanity can shine through bravery, compassion, and unity. Take these lessons into your own lives. In moments of adversity, remember the Londoners who faced flames with courage, who helped neighbors, protected the vulnerable, and forged a future from smoke and rubble. Their legacy is not only in the rebuilt city, but in the enduring hope that life, love, and community endure beyond devastation. Thank you for walking these streets, witnessing these stories, and honoring the lives forever changed. London's silent ashes speak to all of us that even after the fire, hope remains, life prevails, and the human spirit can rise, stronger, brighter, and unbroken.